Sterlace shocked the voice coaches and viewers alike by revealing her age. The 16-year-old New Yorker joined Gwen Stefani's team following a dazzling 4-chair turn cover of Olivia Rodrigo's driver's license during the blind auditions. With fans dubbing her a mini Kelly Clarkson, Sterlace continued to dazzle with performances of Lewis Capaldi's Bruises and Taylor Swift's Betty. Now the wise beyond her years teen has reached the top 8 of season 26 and could very well win it all. Sterlace Performance. We're down to the top 8 on The Voice. During Monday's December 2 episode, each artist performed live in front of the coaches and viewers for the first time. With their fate now entirely in America's hands, the Voice hopefuls had no choice but to leave it all on the stage. Having already conquered Olivia Rodrigo and Taylor Swift, Sterlace set her sights on Billie Eilish next. The teen phenom absolutely nailed Eilish's melancholy 2018 hit, When the Party's Over. During the live top 8 of The Voice season 26, Sterlace was the center of attention as she took the stage for one of the most significant performances of her career. This moment, which could determine whether or not she would move on to the next round, was about more than just showing her vocal skill. It was about giving an emotionally memorable experience that would be remembered for both the audience and the judges. A change occurred in the ambience of the theater as soon as the eerie piano introduction to Billie Eilish's song, When the Party's Over, started playing. It was very evident that Sydney had selected a song that required not only vocal ability, but also a profound emotional connection of some kind. With the combination of Eilish's delicate lyrics and the subtle melody, the setting was set for a performance that was both private and intense. One of the emerging stars in the industry, Sterlace, who is renowned for her deep voice and engaging stage presence, was ready to demonstrate once more why she was deserving of a spot in the competition. Having a relationship to the song When the Party's Over is one that strikes a chord with a great number of people, that includes Sydney herself. Eilish's characteristic haunting vocals are featured on the tune, which is a stark reflection on feelings of isolation, emotional turmoil, and the desire for personal space following intense emotional exchanges. The stripped-down production allows the vulnerability of the words to come through, which is what makes it extremely effective. Its simplicity is what makes it so powerful. It should not have come as a surprise that Sydney, who has established a reputation for her emotional depth and maturity on stage, was drawn to a piece of music that included such visceral elements. Prior to her performance, Sydney gave a brief explanation of the reasons for her selection of the song. This song conveys a lot of emotion to me. It's about the quiet moments when everything feels heavy, when the world around you is moving, but you're just trying to find a moment to breathe, she shared with the audience. It's about the quiet moments. I've always believed that music should connect us to our emotions, and I hope tonight I can bring that to you. It was with those remarks that she established the mood for what would certainly be one of the most emotionally charged performances of the evening. The show in question. Sydney made her entrance onto the stage as the spotlight was shining on her. She was dressed in a black outfit that was understated yet exquisite, and her hair was falling softly around her face, making a dramatic contrast against the harsh lighting. It was not necessary to have dazzling costumes or dramatic backdrops for this performance because the focus was entirely on the music and the feelings that were associated with it. There was only a small amount of lighting on the stage, which allowed Sydney's tremendous voice to steal the spotlight. She began the song with a soft, almost whisper-like performance that quickly drew the listeners in. The delicate piano tune that accompanied her was a perfect accompaniment. Beginning with the very first note, it was evident that Sydney was completely engrossed in the song, as evidenced by the fact that her voice was shaking with the intensity of the lyrics. When she began singing the opening words, her vulnerability was evident, and her voice held an emotional rawness that caused the audience to hang on every word she sang. The passion in her voice increased as she sang gently, "I'm the bad guy," and then she added, "duh," as Sydney transitioned from the calm reflection of the first lines to the more emotional sections of the song. She demonstrated her excellent mastery over her voice. This shift was real, and there was a noticeable change in the performance. The type of performance that she gave was the kind that took the audience into a peaceful and introspective realm, one in which they were able to experience the breadth of the feelings that she was channeling. It was Sydney's ability to make every single moment feel like it was significant that made the calm parts of the song just as powerful as the crescendos. Rich, full, and bursting with emotion, her voice had become a force of nature by the time she reached the final chorus, which was a heartbreaking part of the song. It seemed as if she had achieved a moment of personal triumph when she sang "And I'll Be All Right" with such fervor that her voice reached new heights. Nevertheless, there was also a lingering sense of melancholy that persisted, which was a mirror of the lyrics, which were about letting go and processing challenging feelings. She sang the final lyric of the song, "But I'll be just fine," with her voice shaking with both power and tenderness. This was the moment when the emotional crescendo reached its highest point. For a little instant, there was a feeling that time itself had stopped, and the audience was left in a state of stunned quiet. The responses shown by the judges. Following the conclusion of the concert, there was a period of stillness that was filled with a great deal of feeling. As if the crowd had collectively held its breath, the entire room was completely silent. And then, as if on cue, the applause broke out in full force. It was a voyage into the heart of the song's emotion, that Sydney had delivered a performance that went beyond merely singing a song and had become an experience in its own right. The assessors were clearly moved by her performance for a number of reasons. The first person to speak up was Blake Shelton, who had established himself as a coach who was always encouraging and supportive. That was more than a performance, he began, his voice thick with passion. "Sydney," he said, "wow, it was quite an adventure. Tonight, you brought us on an emotional roller coaster. And that is exactly what it means to be an artist, because you took us on that voyage. Not only are you a singer, but you are also a storyteller. You are so much more than that. It's unbelievable." There was a nod of agreement from John Legend, who is well known for his own exceptional vocal skills and commitment to music. "I'm blown away," he remarked, evidently having a hard time finding the appropriate words to express his feelings. "Tonight, you truly demonstrated to us how much you are able to connect with the song, even though you have always had this level of depth. My memory of this performance will remain with me long after the show has over." Equally touched was Kelly Clarkson, whose praise is frequently accompanied by aggressive love. "I have no doubt that Sydney possesses a gift that cannot be denied, and today you did a wonderful job of showcasing that skill. You are the master of that stage. While you were singing it, you managed to make us feel exactly the same way that you did. It is because of this that you are among the top 8. The final comment came from Adam Levine, who had previously worked with Billie Eilish and was also a fellow coach. "Sydney, I would be at a loss for words to adequately express how much you contributed to this. When the Party's Over is a song that I have heard countless times, yet you somehow managed to make it your own. It wasn't simply that you sang it, you actually became it. I am really pleased with you right now." The effects that Sydney's performance went to have. It was more than simply a moment of vocal brilliance when Sydney Sterlace performed "When the Party's Over." It was a moment of vulnerability, of emotional daring, and of artistic development. What a moment! One of Billie Eilish's most iconic and emotionally charged songs was one that she had taken on and made her own. She had done this. There was no doubt that she had left everything on the stage, as evidenced by the fact that the audience, the judges, and even spectators at home were able to sense the intensity of her performance. For Sydney, this performance was a significant turning point in her life. Because of this, she was able to firmly establish her position in the tournament and demonstrate to the entire world that she was more than capable of going all the way. However, not only did it demonstrate her promise as an artist, but it also demonstrated her ability to connect with her audience on a level that very few other artists are capable of. There was little doubt that Sydney's passionate performance of "When the Party's Over" would be remembered as one of the most memorable moments of The Voice Season 26. This was apparent when the night came to a close and the results from the top 8 were finally revealed. Sydney Sterlace had already demonstrated that she was a formidable opponent, a talent that had the ability to move mountains and hearts alike. independent of whether or not she advanced to the next round of competition.